Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Money Matters Top Tips for Success, where each and every day I bring on new business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives and have them share their top tips for success with you. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres to keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, moneymatterstoptips.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Richard Encarnacion on the line, and he is the CEO over at the RDE Group, and he has a brand new book out called Beyond My Hood. Richard, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Adam. I appreciate the introduction.
Hey, I'm really excited to get into your new book, Beyond My Hood. But before we do that, let's get a little bit further into your background. So how did you get started in your career and in business?
So the way I got started was, some time ago, I was in the military. I was, if you could believe it, I was actually a U.S. Marine. And, when I was in the military, I was just, like a soldier and stuff like that. And I got to work with a lot of top people in the military, like a few generals that you might have heard of. When I was transitioning out of the military, I was actually stationed in San Diego, Miramar, and in Camp Pendleton. I was thinking of, what I would do when I got out of the military. I was a little bit fortunate, that I was able to get into finance kind of early. I got out of the military roughly in like 2010. And I was able to start with a company that was part of Citibank at the time. Started as a financial analyst. The lady who recruited me, believe it or not, she was the first African-American female that owned the seat on the New York Stock Exchange. So I was really excited to work with her. And I was excited, for all the information I was learning there. On top of this, the gentleman that she introduced me, who was the owner of the company at the time, and he still is actually the owner of the company, Mr. Glenn Plate, is actually one of the richest guys in San Diego, and I was extremely beyond happy that I was able to get mentored by him for 3 years. And I was, willing to do whatever it took, to keep that guy happy so I could learn as much information as possible. And I eventually, moved up over the years in that organization and became district manager of that company. After which I worked in a few other organizations, including another company called Dot Studio. I was also fortunate to work with the Emmys. In 2015, I did media management for the Emmys. And I was able to do other important work as well with other organizations. I was briefly also an adjunct professor at the University of San Diego over in Old Town. And I had students, international students. So that's how I began my career in business and more into the entertainment industry.
Let's before we get into the book, let's just briefly give us an overview of what you're doing over at the RDE Group now.
Right now the RDE Group is, it's extremely exciting because we've been in business now for almost 6 years.
Congratulations. That's a big deal. That's awesome.
Thank you. We've done everything from working with small, independent films. We worked with a few known actors. Some of the projects that we have worked with include independent Canadian studios. We also developed some partnerships along the way with different organizations, giving back to the community, as well as, pushing the who we are in the industry and who people know who we are, and some of the projects that we've been able to work with. So we're extremely excited about the projects that we work with. We've worked with projects from not so well known producers in the industry and new producers, and then we have actually had the opportunity to work with more known producers and people who been nominated for Oscars and people who've made money in the entertainment industry. So it's really exciting to work in the entertainment industry, even if it's a small project or a really large, project. Most of the projects that we work on, they're in the independent market. We feel that's mostly our niche because on the bigger side of it, you have the major studio films. We feel that there's a lot of companies competing for that kind of space. But we've been really excited to work with the independent producers. We worked few years ago with a documentary called Riot, and the film was Kevin McLaughlin, and it was narrated by Andrew Wagner, who's an Academy Award-winning nominated actor, and we was happy to market that project and help them structure that project, and then eventually they got a distribution. So we were really excited about that. We're also looking forward to working with other independent film producers. We're looking to shift from the California market to more in the eastern part of the U.S. now, because we feel that the western part of the U.S. A lot of the major studios are really just took over that market. So we're really excited just to work on the independent side, and then Tyler Perry he started a studio also in Atlanta now. So there's a lot of opportunities now in the entertainment industry, and we want to help as much as possible.
Man, that's exciting stuff you're working on. That's really exciting. Let's get into the book. Let's jump right in. So Beyond My Hood, what was the inspiration for this?
I mean, Beyond My Hood, it's taken me a long time to get the idea for this book. The inspiration for it is just my own personal story and the struggle of coming up and growing up in an urban environment, right? What I mean by this is, obviously, the title itself, Beyond My Hood, grew up in urban community in the hood, in apartment projects in the Tri-County area in the East Coast, New Jersey, specifically North New Jersey, back in the early 90s. The reason for this is because, I'm a kid of an immigrant family that had recently come to the United States, and, usually the lowest costing apartments are, like in those kind of rougher urban areas. And I noticed when I was coming up in that kind of environment, that kind of situation, that there was the same kind of people, and they had kind of like the same kind of mindset. And it was hard because, when you're a kid, you don't really know if you're rich or poor. After like you turn like a teenager, a little bit more. Okay, yeah, I'm not rich. Okay, I live in this area. When you're a kid, you don't really know. Like you're just alive. You just just living your life. You do kind of what your parents tell you. But like as you grow older, you start to realize, okay, maybe I don't live in the best area. You know what I mean? People that I'm around are this is not how everybody is like this. And the book kind of goes into detail about like, listen, you grew up in this environment, and it's not like a autobiography by any means. The book is more about like the mental health and the mental approach if you're living in those circumstances, or even if you're not in those circumstances, but you happen to have a set of problems which you don't know how to deal with. And from reading a lot of successful folks over the years, like Jim Rohn and those kind of folks, I have learned that really what kind of like separates the people who are extremely successful, because a lot of people tell me, well, some people are just kind of born rich and stuff like that. Actually, that's not true. When I did the research, 90% of people who actually are first generation wealthy. What that means is that they actually made themselves wealthy. Their parents were not rich. So it basically is a mindset thing, So writing this book is really about the mindset. It's like, okay, maybe if you're around certain kinds of people, that kind of influences you. Maybe if you do certain things, maybe that will influence you. But then also just like, not just personal responsibility, but also just like being aware of the situations that you're in, and then, taking control and like, what can you do if you're in this situation? You know what I mean?
That's awesome. And so when does this come out, or is it already out? Let me give us a little bit more on that.
Yeah, I mean the book it should be out within the next several months. I'm pushing for an April release. The book is finished. It's complete. We're doing some tweaks on that. I'm going to be talking to the editor fairly soon. But I feel, I've written several books. I don't know if you know that. But I feel like this is probably the most important book I've written. And it's not just because I'm saying this because, I'm obviously the writer, But I wish I had this book when I was like 15, living in the hood, had, you know, all these problems, or even if I didn't live in the hood, but maybe I'm a blue collar worker and I just don't know how to, you know, go beyond my circumstances, or even if I'm a college student, like how to, you know, go and deal with the problems that I'm facing. You know what I mean? And so I feel this book is not just like another book that I'm putting out there and trying to, I feel like this book is going to have an impact on people. And, you know, like I said, I wish I didn't write this book. I wish somebody else had written this book and I had read it when I was a kid, because I would have been able to bypass a lot of the problems and situations and stuff like that I had to deal with in order to be where I'm trying to be at and where I'm at today. So I feel like this is really an important book. You know, once it's completed, you know, I would love for every high school in America, even if, you know, you come from a wealthy family, for people to read this book, even colleges and maybe even nonprofits or people with mental health and people in jail, because I think it's that kind of an important book that it should have, you know, the attention that for those kinds of people and for a lot of other people as well to read and take advantage of it, of the information in there.
Man, that's exciting. And Richard, when that comes back out, man, you're gonna have to shoot me an email. We'll definitely have you back on the show, and we'll talk more about the book. No, I love it. Let's get you. Let's sell you some books. That's what I like to say. I like to help promote and other authors and help them get their message out. And you're very passionate about your message. I can hear that. You're doing a lot of great work. So appreciate that.
Absolutely,
well, hey, Richard.
Adam, okay.
I'm going to definitely have you back here. But that being said, I could talk to you all day about this. But that's going to be our time for today. We're going to have you back on the show when the book comes out, and definitely we're going to throw in some links there, all that other good stuff, help you promote when it does come out. But then thanks again for coming on the show and sharing more about your background, what you're doing over at the RDE Group. And if somebody does want to learn more about the RDE Group, what's the best route for them to do that?
They could just go on the website, www.therDEgroup.com, or they could hit me up on LinkedIn, you know, just my name, Richard Encarnacion. I doubt there's somebody else with my last name on LinkedIn. And also, Adam, I just want to say, as a gift for putting me on the show, I want to give you a free copy of my book once it's edited and it's published.
Awesome.
So, you'll get a free copy of it. And thank you very much again for bringing me on your show. I really appreciate it. And if anything I can do for you, just, you know, let me know.
Really appreciate that. Well, thank you again for coming on. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. I hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review on the Apple iTunes Store, do all those great things we do to support our podcasters. I really do appreciate it. And Richard, thanks again for coming on.
All right. Thank you, sir.